Hi, and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. I'm reviewing Inglewood, 1968, Deep Purple, October the 18th, when they joined Cream on tour. Inglewood, that's the same venue as Live on Blueberry Hill, the famous bootleg by Led Zeppelin in 1970. This is from the official bootleg series, Sonic Zoom, which was early 2000s, around that time, 2002. I don't think it's been re-released since then. A lot of these have now been re-released. We'll see as we review them which ones are sort of currently available and which ones have just disappeared. But this was great. This was their answer to kind of the King Crimson Collectors Club. And in the end it stopped because there wasn't enough money and bootleggers were asking for too much money for their dodgy tapes, basically, that kind of thing, sadly. But we did get some fantastic releases, like this one. You can just watch it on YouTube, and when I say watch it, yes, you can watch it because this was recorded on a really early video camera. Now, video camera's not a big deal, but in 1968, that's really early video cameras. And the effects are so good, I doubt the sound is really taken from the video camera, that maybe it's just they attached a soundboard to it or something, maybe. Because the sound is great. It does distort a bit, it's not releasable sound, really, but it's still great. The video is not great. The video is just weird ghost images. Whether the tape had faded or whether that was just what it was like, don't know. The problem actually is more to do with where they're pointing the camera. You can basically see one member of the band at once. I don't know if that was a problem with the camera or what. So yeah, they recorded a new album, even though they just recorded their first album, and they finished that off just before they went on tour to the States to do this. And you know, that tour famously with limousines and Hugh Hefner eventually supporting Cream before being kicked off the tour. They flew over on the 15th of October, which was late, probably to finish the album. They were probably booked for the whole of the Cream tour, which started near the start of October, but they came late and probably to finish the album. So I think River Deep Mountain High was just been recorded, actually. And this is the 18th. The show after Momming on TV the night before on The Dating Game. That must have been a bit of a shock. But this is the first time they supported Cream. This is that first show. Obviously, what people talk about of the supporting Cream tour is the apocryphal old stories of, oh well, Eric Clapton was just too intimidated by Blackmore, so they had to get him off the tour. And it's easy to dismiss that. I've always dismissed that. Especially at this stage where he hadn't yet found his thing. You know, he hadn't found the Strat thing. You know, the technique was there, but he didn't quite know what to do with it. But here's the thing. Okay, this is my theory, and this is only from listening to this and watching watching the video for the first time for a long time, for 10 years, 15 years, something like that. I hear Richie Blackmore doing a Clapton impression. That's the controversial thing. I hear it on the solo of Kentucky Woman. I can hear it at the end of Mandrake Root and in the sort of non-scary bits of Wring That Neck as well. Now, he's very nervous. He sounds very nervous to me, but I wonder if he's doing a Clapton impression, and maybe certainly much more Clapton-like than normal, I think. Could it be that he was, maybe it's a very Richie Blackmore thing to sort of wind someone up like that, try and wind up Eric Clapton. You know, the fact that he could do that, but he could do all that other stuff as well. Maybe that could have rubbed in the wrong way, genuinely, you know. The Cream got in a band with a guitarist that sounded nothing like Eric Clapton, and he just does an impression of him. I'm almost certainly reading too much into that, actually. Blackmore was nervous, and he was just happened to be using very sort of lots of hammer-ons and bends because he was nervous, probably. But it's a nice idea. It's much more likely that the band were just too bombastic and it was too much of a gimmick, distracted the audience from the very serious blues music. Yet obviously this is, because they're in the US, this is the company Telegramation, the one who subsequently went bust. They did seem to have loads of cash because they're very well promoted in the US, unlike the UK. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe that's where all the money went. But it's interesting that, really, ironically, given what would happen later, they didn't tour themselves to death. You know, they went for prestigious shows, particularly in the UK. They didn't play many shows in the UK, which was probably a terrible idea. It does strike me I've probably said this for every Purple video so far, how good Ian Paice is at this point, but obviously this is a live album, so you know, it's all about Ian Paice at this stage. I think he stands out more than John Lord on this one for me, for whatever reason. I don't know why. Could just be the sound. Rod Evans really does sit down cross-legged during Help, which is, you know, the story, but I've never seen it, and you do see him do it. He sings better as well sitting down, but there might be another reason for that. I'll talk about that in a minute. He does ask for a round of applause for the Beatles, and there's kind of one person goes, "Yeah, River Deep Mountain High." You know, I said this in the previous video. I do like that one. Of the bombastic, over the top, classical bits with a famous rock song. I like that one. Although there's a lot of distortion, not that great vocals. Introduces 2001 music. He does then say Strauss though. Actually, when was 2001? Actually, I only just realised. When was 2001? Wasn't it after this? Wasn't it 69? Okay, maybe it was contemporary, in which case that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah. So the vocals at this point, with all these bands, he's not going to hear himself during the loud bits, so that's probably why he sounded better during Help. That's just the technology of the time that PAs couldn't cope with a band playing. You know, he does do the hand to ear Ian Gillan thing and trying to hear what he's singing. So there you go. A real time capsule that almost it feels like something that shouldn't have been made. It's a secret recording of a very early stage, you know. The other Mark 1 recording, of course, everybody knows, is the Playboy After Dark performance. They played And the Address and Hush, which it's just great. It's really worth watching. And there's an interview with Hugh Hefner. He talks to John about some nonsense about ghosts at Deves Hall. But Hugh Hefner actually plays Richie's guitar. He shows him where to put his fingers and he goes brown. And it's a great shot because you can see he's humouring him to a point, but then after he's played it, he's like, "Yeah, right, give me my guitar back now." There's a genuine bit of no, you know, my guitar. Wonderful 60s time capsule. That footage is great. You know, just imagine someone says, "Do you want to go and see Deep Purple at the Playboy Mansion?" "Oh, sorry, my liberal beliefs tell me I can't." "Oh, Deep Purple. Oh, okay." You know, there is another show. There is another Mark 1 show that was recorded, supposedly 6 months later. It's mentioned in this booklet, but I know I've read more about it than that. I think the plan was to release it on this, and it never came out. I don't know what show it was, so I've never found it. I've never heard it. It's obviously that much later. They were much better, so it would be worth hearing. But not here, sadly, unless anyone can recommend it, where it is on YouTube or anything. Cheers. See you next time.